The Last Sentinel. Commander Elisa Vega opened her eyes to darkness and the taste of blood. The emergency lighting in her command bunker flickered weakly, casting long shadows across the wreckage of what had once been Outpost Horizon, humanity's furthest military installation in the Cygnus Arm. Warning klaxons had long since fallen silent. Now there was only the occasional spark from damaged circuitry and the distant rumble of collapsing structures. "Status report," she croaked, her military neural implant automatically connecting to the outpost's fragmented systems. The data that flooded her consciousness was devastating. Shields, offline. Communications, offline. Life support, critical. Personnel, 0.4% survival rate. That last statistic hit her like a physical blow. Outpost Horizon had been home to over 5,000 people. Military personnel, scientists, and their families. Now her implant was telling her that only 20 might have survived. And that estimate was optimistically high. Elisa forced herself to stand, ignoring the pain that shot through her left leg. A medical diagnostic from her implant confirmed 2 fractures and internal bleeding, nothing her nanomed injectors couldn't temporarily stabilize. She limped to the command console and began accessing what remained of the outpost's surveillance network. The attack had come without warning. One moment, the morning shift had been conducting routine operations. The next, a fleet of unknown vessels had appeared in orbit. There had been no demands, no ultimatum, just immediate, devastating fire from weapons far more advanced than anything in Earth's arsenal. "Identify attacking vessels," Elisa commanded. Her implant projected the information directly into her visual cortex. Krell Dominion warships, subjugator class, unknown in this sector until now. The Krell. Earth's intelligence had only fragmentary information about them, a highly advanced species from beyond the Perseus Void, territorial and expansionist, but previously content to remain within their established boundaries. There had been no diplomatic contact, no prior hostilities. This attack made no sense, unless show me all communications in the 12 hours before the attack. A single transmission appeared, sent from Outpost Horizon to Earth's Central Command, just before communication systems failed. URGNT. Archaeological team discovers non-human technology on PKS 2317. Appears active. Attempting tow. The message ended abruptly. Elisa's blood ran cold. PKS 2317 was a supposedly uninhabited planet that Horizon scientists had been surveying for potential colonization. Had they stumbled upon something the Krell didn't want found? A proximity alert flashed across her implant. Something was moving through the ruins above. Elisa silenced her breathing and drew her sidearm, a pulse pistol with barely enough charge for 3 shots. The bunker's reinforced door creaked open, and she aimed steadily at the entrance. Lieutenant Maya Chen stumbled in, her face streaked with blood and ash. "Commander?" "Thank God." Elisa lowered her weapon. "Report, Lieutenant." "They're gone, Commander." The Krell ships withdrew after confirming the destruction of our main facilities. Chen's voice cracked. "I found 16 survivors so far, mostly from the subsurface levels. Medical Bay is partially functional. Dr. Kapoor is treating the wounded. What about the colonial settlements?" Chen's expression darkened. "Gone. All of them. Horizon Colony, New Seattle, the mining outposts on the moons, all wiped out. 40,000 civilians, families, children, gone in an instant of alien fire." Elisa's implant registered her elevated heart rate and automatically administered a mild sedative, not enough to dull her senses, just enough to keep her functioning. "And communications. The main array is destroyed, but I managed to salvage a short-range transmitter from a shuttle wreck. We can communicate on planet, maybe reach orbit if we're lucky, but not Earth." Elisa nodded, her tactical mind already formulating their next steps. "Get me to that transmitter. We need to try to contact any other human outposts in nearby systems, and salvage whatever you can from the armory." Over the next 3 days, the grim reality of their situation became clear. The Krell attack hadn't been isolated to Outpost Horizon. Through fragmented emergency transmissions and distress beacons, Elisa pieced together a horrifying truth. Every human settlement in the Cygnus Arm was under assault. The attacks were coordinated, brutal, and thorough. And Earth didn't know. The Krell had systematically destroyed all faster-than-light communication relays, isolating the frontier systems from Earth Command. No warnings could reach humanity's homeworld or the more established inner colonies. "It's a purge," Dr. Kapoor said quietly as they reviewed the data. The older woman's hands trembled as she pointed to the pattern of attacks on the star chart. "They're methodically eliminating human presence in this sector, working their way inward." "But why?" Chen asked. "We've never even had contact with them." Elisa's thoughts returned to that final transmission about PKS 2317. "I think we found something we weren't supposed to find. Something that made them see us as a threat." She made her decision. "We're going to PKS 2317. The others stared at her in disbelief. "Commander," Chen said carefully, "we have 16 survivors, a damaged shuttle with limited fuel, and barely enough medical supplies to keep everyone alive for a month. We should be focusing on finding a way to warn Earth." "That's exactly what I'm doing," Elisa replied. "If we can understand why they're attacking us, we might find a way to stop them, or at least slow them down enough to get a warning through." The journey to PKS 2317 and their cobbled-together shuttle nearly killed them all. By the time they reached the planet's surface, they were down to 13 survivors. The archaeological site wasn't hard to find. A massive excavation on the edge of an ancient dried seabed, now marked by a fresh crater where Krell weapons had attempted to obliterate it. But they hadn't been thorough enough. They were in a hurry, Elisa observed as they carefully descended into the partially collapsed dig site. They bombarded the surface but didn't send ground forces to confirm destruction. What they found changed everything. Beneath layers of rubble lay a chamber of clearly artificial origin, not Krell, not human, but something far older. And at its center stood a console, somehow still active despite the damage around it. Dr. Kapoor approached it cautiously. "This technology is unlike anything I've seen. The power signature is extraordinary." Elisa's implant began to interface with the alien system, translating incomprehensible symbols into something her human mind could process. Images flooded her consciousness, star maps, technological schematics, and records of a civilization that had once spanned the galaxy. "It's some kind of repository," she gasped as the connection stabilized. "Left by a species called." The closest translation is precursors. They seeded technology across the galaxy before disappearing millions of years ago. And the Krell don't want anyone else finding it, Chen concluded. "It's more than that," Elisa said as more information poured into her mind. "The Krell found precursor technology centuries ago. It's the source of their advancement. They've been systematically destroying any evidence of it to prevent other species from accessing the same knowledge." "But why target us specifically?" Kapoor asked. The answer came as Elisa delved deeper into the repository. "Because humans adapt too quickly. The repository contains psychological and biological profiles of thousands of species. According to its analysis, humans assimilate and improve upon new technology faster than any species the precursors encountered." "So we're a threat," Chen said softly. "To the Krell's dominance, yes." Elisa disconnected from the repository, her decision made. "And we're about to become a much bigger one." Over the next 2 months, Elisa and the survivors established a hidden base in the caverns beneath the archaeological site. The repository became their greatest asset, providing knowledge that allowed them to enhance their limited technology and even interface with Krell systems. Elisa's military neural implant, originally designed for battlefield awareness and tactical coordination, became something far more powerful when augmented with precursor algorithms. She could now reach into Krell networks, intercept their communications, and even manipulate their automated systems. They salvaged parts from their shuttle and Krell debris to build stealth drones, tiny machines that could infiltrate Krell installations and transmit data back to their base. Through these electronic eyes and ears, Elisa mapped Krell movements throughout the sector and identified their vulnerabilities. The first strike came 3 months after the fall of Outpost Horizon. A small Krell supply depot on a moon in a neighboring system suffered a catastrophic power failure, followed by a series of explosions in its ammunition stores. No attacker was detected. No weapons were fired. Systems simply failed in precisely the right sequence to cause maximum damage. The Krell commanders were baffled. Their investigation found nothing except a single message embedded in their own command network. Humanity remembers. More strikes followed. The Krell communications relay inexplicably broadcast sensitive tactical data on an open frequency. Navigational buoys misdirected a patrol fleet into an asteroid field. Automated defense platforms turned on their own ships. The Krell began to call their invisible adversary the Sentinel in their increasingly frantic communications. They never suspected that their entire network had been compromised by a single human with an enhanced neural implant, working from a cave with salvaged equipment. For Elisa, each successful operation brought a cold satisfaction. She didn't delude herself that she was winning the war. The Krell still had overwhelming force on their side, but she was buying time. More importantly, she was learning. Every system she infiltrated, every database she accessed, revealed more about Krell technology and tactics. And through it all, one goal remained paramount: find a way to warn Earth before the Krell reached the inner colonies. 6 months after the destruction of Outpost Horizon, Elisa detected something unusual. A non-Krell ship moving stealthily through the outer edges of the system. Its design was unfamiliar, but its movements suggested intelligence and purpose. It was avoiding Krell patrol routes with a precision that indicated detailed knowledge of their patterns. Someone else is fighting them, she realized. Elisa took a calculated risk and transmitted a brief message on a narrow beam frequency. Human survivors on PKS 2317. Krell targeted us for finding precursor technology. The response came hours later. You are not alone. Others resist. Rendezvous coordinates follow. As Elisa prepared their makeshift ship for the journey, she reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, she had been a by-the-book military commander with a promising career ahead of her. Now she was something else. A guerrilla leader, a saboteur, perhaps the last hope for humanity's survival in this sector. The Krell had made a fatal error. They had tried to exterminate humanity, but they had left one survivor with the knowledge, skills, and motivation to fight back. They had created their own worst nightmare, a human with nothing left to lose. And now, it seemed, she wasn't going to fight alone anymore. The resistance rises. The Rendezvous coordinates led to an asteroid belt in a red dwarf system, unremarkable, unpopulated, and far from established trade routes. The perfect hiding place. As Elisa guided their small vessel through the densely packed rocks, her enhanced sensors detected subtle energy signatures that wouldn't register on standard scanners. Someone was watching. We're being scanned, she informed her small crew, now down to 11 survivors of Outpost Horizon. Stay alert but non-aggressive. A transmission burst came through. Approaching vessel, maintain current course. As they rounded a particularly large asteroid, the hiding place was revealed, a sprawling structure built into the very rock itself, with docking ports almost invisibly integrated into the natural formations. It was a masterpiece of camouflage. Impressive, Lieutenant Chen muttered beside her. A tractor beam gently guided their ship into a docking bay that closed behind them, sealing them inside the asteroid base. As atmosphere flooded the chamber, Elisa's implant analyzed its composition. Breathable, though with trace elements suggesting it was calibrated for multiple species, the airlock opened to reveal a reception committee of distinctly non-human figures. 3 different species stood before them: a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin, a stocky, reptilian bite, and a floating creature that resembled nothing so much as a jellyfish with metallic tentacles. The willowy being stepped forward. "I am Nyara of the Lyrithi," it said in surprisingly good English. "Welcome to Aegis Base. We've been monitoring your activities against the Krell with great interest, Commander Vega." Elisa tensed. "How do you know my name?" "The same way we know about your attacks on Krell installations," Nyara replied. "We've been intercepting their communications. They fear the Sentinel greatly." "The Krell have enemies everywhere," rumbled the reptilian being. "I am Draz of the Voth. My homeworld was one of the first to fall to their expansion." Nyara gestured for them to follow. "We have much to discuss." The interior of the asteroid base was a marvel of engineering. A self-contained ecosystem supporting various life forms, all powered by technology that seemed to blend the familiar with the exotic. As they walked, Elisa noted beings from at least 7 different species, all working together with purpose. They entered a command center where holographic displays showed star systems across the sector, many marked with Krell movements and installations. "What is this place?" Elisa asked. "We call ourselves the Aegis," Nyara explained. "We are survivors and refugees from worlds conquered or destroyed by the Krell Dominion. For decades, we've been gathering intelligence, sabotaging their operations where possible, and searching for a way to effectively fight back. And failing," Draz added bluntly. "Until now." Nyara nodded. "Your tactics against the Krell have been remarkable. You've done more damage in 6 months than we've managed in years." "I had help," Elisa admitted, explaining about the precursor repository. "The Krell have been using this technology for centuries, but they don't fully understand it. They're users, not innovators." "Unlike humans," said a new voice. A small, gray-skinned being with large eyes approached them. "I am Taylor, lead analyst for the Aegis. We've been studying your species since you expanded into this sector. Your adaptability is concerning." "Concerning enough that the Krell decided to wipe us out," Elisa noted dryly. "Yes, but also your greatest strength," Tella continued. "No species we've encountered assimilates and improves upon technology as quickly as humans do. The Krell fear this because they've built their dominance on technological supremacy." Elisa accessed the data being displayed around them through her neural implant, absorbing tactical information faster than any verbal briefing could provide. What she saw was sobering. "The Krell control over 40 systems in this sector alone," she observed. "How many of you are there?" "Across all our hidden bases, perhaps 5,000, Nyara admitted. "We are what remains of civilizations the Krell have systematically destroyed or subjugated. That's not an army. That's barely a resistance. Which is why we need you," Draz said. "Your attacks have created the first cracks in Krell confidence. Their commanders are being replaced for failure. Resources are being diverted to security rather than expansion." Elisa considered this. "I've been focused on finding a way to warn Earth. The Krell destroyed our communication relays, and our technology isn't advanced enough to send messages across that distance without them." Tella stepped forward. "Perhaps we can help each other. We have technology that might reach your homeworld. You have knowledge of the precursors and tactical approaches the Krell haven't encountered before." Over the next few days, Elisa integrated her small team into the Aegis operation. Dr. Kapoor worked with their scientists to share what they'd learned from the precursor repository. Lieutenant Chen began training Aegis fighters in human military tactics, and Elisa herself connected her enhanced neural implant to their systems, dramatically expanding their intelligence-gathering capabilities. What emerged was a new kind of warfare, one that leveraged the strengths of all their species. The Lyrithi contributed their unparalleled stealth technology. The Voth provided durability and raw strength. Others brought specialized knowledge, unique biological capabilities, or technological expertise from their conquered civilizations. And the humans brought innovation, adaptability, and a tactical aggression that bordered on recklessness. "Your species fights differently," Nyara observed after watching Elisa run combat simulations. The Krell expect methodical, predictable responses. Your strategies seem almost intentionally chaotic. Controlled chaos, Elisa corrected. Humans learned warfare fighting other humans, opponents who can think and adapt just as quickly as we can. We develop doctrines based on disruption and psychological impact rather than pure firepower. The Krell have never faced an enemy like that, Draz rumbled appreciatively. 3 weeks after joining the Aegis, Elisa proposed their first major operation. A coordinated strike against a Krell command node that controlled operations across 3 systems. Unlike her previous solo efforts, this would be a direct assault requiring perfect execution from multiple teams. This is too aggressive, argued Tela during the planning session. We should continue with smaller operations that keep us hidden. The Krell already know they have enemies, Elisa countered. What they don't know is our capabilities. This strike will convince them they're facing a much larger force than they are, and draw their attention, Nyara pointed out. Exactly, Elisa smiled coldly. To exactly where we wanted. The plan was elegant in its complexity. First, a series of small attacks on outlying Krell installations, just enough to trigger emergency protocols that would route additional command authority through the central node. Then, a precision strike on the node itself, not to destroy it, but to insert a modified version of the precursor algorithms into its systems. The Krell would believe their network had been compromised by brute force. They wouldn't realize that they had been infected by something much more insidious, a self-replicating algorithm that would spread throughout their command systems, gathering intelligence and creating backdoors for future operations. The attack proceeded with only minor complications. 3 Aegis fighters were lost, but the algorithm was successfully planted. Within hours, it began transmitting data back to their base. Krell fleet movements, weapon specifications, and most critically, their planned assault routes toward Earth and the inner colonies. They're moving faster than we thought, Elisa said grimly as she reviewed the intelligence. They'll reach the Epsilon sector within 2 months. Earth in 6. Can your communications technology reach Earth from here? She asked Tela. The gray alien hesitated. Perhaps, but a standard warning may not be enough. The Krell will have contingencies for Earth detecting their approach. Then we need to send more than a warning, Elisa decided. We need to send them everything. The precursor data, Krell tactical information, and our combined technological developments. That would require a direct connection to Earth's military networks, Tela objected. We don't have the capacity to. I do, Elisa interrupted, tapping her neural implant. I was designed to interface with Earth Command's tactical systems. If we can boost the signal strength enough, I can establish a direct neural link. The risk was enormous. Such a connection would strain her enhanced implant beyond its specifications, potentially causing permanent neural damage or death. But the alternative was Earth facing the Krell unprepared. For 3 days, the combined technological expertise of the Aegis worked to modify their communications array, integrating elements of precursor technology to amplify its power. When it was ready, Elisa sat in a chamber surrounded by cooling systems designed to prevent her implant from overheating during the transmission. This will likely be a one-way communication, she told her team. Focus on maintaining the connection as long as possible. As the system powered up, Elisa closed her eyes and initiated the neural interface. Pain immediately lanced through her skull as her implant operated far beyond its safety parameters. But the connection formed, tenuous at first, then strengthening as the modified array found its target, Earth's Central Military Command. Through waves of agony, Elisa transmitted everything, compressed data packets containing all they had learned about the Krell, the precursors, and the technologies they had developed. She included tactical analyses, defense recommendations, and coordinates for hidden Aegis bases throughout the sector. Her consciousness began to fragment as the strain increased, but she forced herself to continue until the transmission was complete. The last thing she sent was a simple message. You are not alone. The resistance continues. Humanity stands with the Aegis. As the connection broke, Elisa collapsed into darkness. She awoke 3 days later in the Aegis medical bay, surrounded by concerned faces, human and alien alike. Lieutenant Chen was the first to speak. They received it, Commander. Earth got your transmission. They've already begun preparations. Elisa tried to sit up, wincing at the lingering pain in her head. How can you know? Because they responded, Chen said with a smile. Just before the connection failed. 2 words. We're coming. The implications were enormous. Earth now had months to prepare for the Krell. Time to adapt their defenses, integrate the new technologies, and perhaps even send reinforcements to the frontier. But they couldn't afford to wait for rescue. The Krell would realize soon enough that their plans had been compromised, and their response would be merciless. We've been playing defense long enough, Elisa told the assembled Aegis leadership later that day. It's time to show the Krell what happens when you corner humanity. The plan she proposed was audacious, a full-scale assault on the Krell's regional headquarters, a massive space station orbiting a gas giant in the Proxima sector. Not to destroy it, but to capture it and the command staff inside. This is madness, Draz growled. Even with our combined forces. We don't need overwhelming force, Elisa interrupted. We need precision, timing, and the Krell's own psychological weaknesses. She outlined an approach that leveraged everything they had learned. The Lyrithi would use their stealth technology to infiltrate advanced teams. The Voth would lead the direct assault forces. Other species would contribute according to their unique capabilities. And the humans would provide the unexpected element. Tactics so counterintuitive that the Krell's predictive algorithms would fail completely. The battle that followed would later be known as the turning point, the moment when the Krell Dominion first faced a defeat so complete that it shattered their aura of invincibility across the sector. Elisa led the final assault team personally, her neural implant allowing her to coordinate the disparate forces with unprecedented precision. As they fought their way to the command center, she felt a grim satisfaction. This was for Outpost Horizon, for the 40,000 colonists, for every being who had suffered under Krell expansion. When they finally secured the station and captured the Krell High Commander, a tall, angular being whose arrogance remained intact even in defeat, Elisa made sure their victory was broadcast across every frequency in the sector. You believe you have won a great victory, the Krell commander hissed. But the Dominion is vast. This is merely a setback. No, Elisa replied calmly. This is a beginning. You thought you could exterminate humanity because we were too dangerous to be allowed to exist. You were right about one thing. We are dangerous. But you made a critical error. What error? The commander demanded. Elisa gestured to the diverse group of fighters around her. Human, Lyrithi, Voth, and others, all standing together against a common enemy. You gave us something to fight for. And you gave us allies. She leaned closer to the captured commander. The Krell Dominion has ruled through fear and technological superiority. But we've shown the galaxy that you can be defeated. By tomorrow, every subjugated world in your empire will know it too. As promised, Earth forces arrived 4 months later. Not just a rescue mission, but an armada prepared for war, equipped with technologies reverse-engineered from the data Elisa had transmitted. They found not a scattered resistance, but an organized alliance that had already liberated 6 systems from Krell control. The war would continue. The Krell Dominion was too vast to fall quickly. But the balance had shifted irrevocably. What had begun as one survivor's desperate fight for vengeance had evolved into something far more significant, a true alliance among species, united against tyranny. And at its core stood humanity, adaptable, relentless, and as the Krell had learned to their cost, absolutely terrifying when they had nothing left to lose.